Hello and welcome students. I hope you all are safe at home in this pandemic COVID-19 scenario. Myself Pooja Kandekar, Assistant Professor in Electrical Engineering Department from Matoshi College of Engineering and Research Center. Today we are going to start a very new lecture series on power system operation and control as per the syllabus designed by Savitribai Phule Pune University for final year electrical students. So we are going to begin our module 1 lecture series. So here you can see a power system landscape, how the power transfer flows from generation side to transmission to distribution and finally at the consumer terminals. Here at the generation side we have competitive environment. We have many participants. We have public participant and private participant as well. Here examples of private participants are Reliance Power, Tata Power, Torrent Power. So this makes competitive environment at the generation site. Once the electrical energy is been generated, it is dispatched to the primary transmission substation where the voltage levels are stepped up in order to cope up the transmission line losses. Further, it is given to the secondary transmission substations where the voltage levels are reduced and given to the distribution, and from the distribution side it enters the consumer terminals. So this huge network has has to transfer the power within the constraints. The constraints are for the fundamental parameters specially. The fundamental parameters are voltage, current, frequency and impedance of a network. They must not go above or below the permissible limits. So first we will quickly recap what we have studied in the power system subject in second year and third year electrical engineering courses. So mainly the objectives of electrical power system is the cost. The cost of electrical energy per unit system must be minimum. This can be achieved using the economic load dispatch by evaluating various economic factors by using various generation methods. Second most important factor is rated voltage and frequency has to be supplied to the consumer. This can be achieved using the automatic voltage control and automatic load frequency control. Third is the reliable power supply must be available. Here reliability means that continuity of the power must be present at the consumer terminal. This can be achieved using the high voltage DC transmission by not allowing any sort of disturbances to the transmission network and by using various methods for the generation of electrical energy. Fourth important point is most efficient protection system must be available at the for isolating the faulty section from the healthy system. This can be done using many switch gears available, circuit breakers, which can heal up the power system within minimum time as possible. So fifth most important is efficient generators has to be used. What do you mean by efficient generators? They must be stable in the operation. They must work in synchronism with the other power system network. But the properties of electrical power system is quite different. This is not allowing us to remain the fundamental parameters within the constraint. This is because mainly that power system network has spread over a large geographical area. It has become nowadays complicated due to the increased industrial growth and rising domestic residential demands, and it is also becoming dynamic and non-linear. It is also composed of interdependent heterogeneous components. This results in incremental evolution in the system configuration driven by the response to failures, and it have also seen many emerging trends in technology, operation and planning. So here comes the significance of power system operation and control in electrical engineering. So Due to the transfer of power right from generation to transmission, distribution and to the consumer terminals, the flow of the power try to cross the limits, their tolerable limits, especially the fundamental parameters limits, frequency, voltage, current and impedances. This raises the issues like reactive power, active power control, the rotor angle stability loses, the voltage stability loses. Then there is issues like inter-area power transfer, power quality, automatic generation and frequency control for the multi-machine system, reliability evaluation, operation in competitive environment, and these all are the important factors in operation and control of the power system. So basically in operation and control, what we are trying to do is we are controlling the basic fundamental parameters first, because the load or the demand at the consumer terminal is not in our hands. They keep on fluctuating. There is a sudden change in the demand, there is a sudden change in the industrial growth. So this we cannot control, but what we can control is our parameters. They must operate within the tolerable limits. They must coordinate with each other and the whole entire system must work in a synchronism. The operation in the power system needs a proper coordination between the equipment and at various stages, as I said previously, mainly for controlling the fundamental variables within their desired limits. Moreover, if this network undergoes certain disturbances, the disturbance can be external disturbances like the three-phase fault conditions, three-phase short circuit, triple L fault, that is triple L line faults, or maybe internal faults at the generation side itself, the stator interturn fault, the rotor loss of synchronism. So these are the internal faults. So in this condition, how our power system network behaves, how our power system network react to such disturbances, this also we are going to study and analyze in this power system operation and control subject. As per the syllabus designed by Savitribai Phule Pune University, this course consists of this examination scheme. First you will undergo in-sem exam for 30 marks, then oral and term work each for 25 marks, and finally the theory exam, that is end-sem exam, for 70 marks. So let's look on the course objectives of power system operation and control subject. To develop the ability to analyze and various methods to improve the power system stability. To understand the need for generation and control of reactive power. This, how the reactive power is generated, how it is managed, and what are the various types of devices in order to control the reactive power. This we are going to study in second and third unit. To study the various advanced controller and their impact on stability. Here the advanced controller means the FACTS devices, flexible AC transmission technologies. Here using these technology we are going to control the reactive power. To illustrate the automatic frequency and voltage control strategies for single area and two area cases. To understand the formulation of unit commitment. Now here the unit commitment means how many units or the machines are dedicated for generating the electrical energy in order to optimally satisfy the load demand and the economic load dispatch task and solve it using the optimization technique. To illustrate the various ways of interchange of power between the interconnected utilities, discuss planning and reliability aspect. After completing the subject, you will be able to understand and analyze the dynamics of power system and suggest means to improve the stability of a system. You will be able to comprehend the effect of reactive power on power system and suggest means of reactive power management. You will be able to select the appropriate FACTS devices and analyze generation load balance in real-time operation and its effect on frequency and develop automatic controlling strategies. We will be also able to understand the effect of change in the frequencies. We will be able to formulate the objective functions using the computational techniques. We will be able to evaluate the reliability indices of the power system network. Next, we will see the contents of the course. Unit 1 deals with the power system stability. In this, you will understand what do we mean by stability of a power system, types of stability, classifications of stability, and how do we evaluate that stability using the swing curve, using the power angle curve, and then we will also form the swing equation. Then we will also see the solutions of this swing equation. Next unit deals with the reactive power management. In this unit, you will see first what are the advanced effect of the reactive power in this network and how we can control the reactive power. What are the methods of controlling? What are the devices do we have to control the reactive power? Unit 3 deals with the various types of FACTS devices. FACTS, flexible AC transmission technology. Mainly you will study about the static wear compensator, you will study about the unified power factor controller, and etc. Unit 4 is about the automatic generation and control. Fifth unit deals with the economic load dispatch and unit commitment. And unit 6 is about the energy control, planning and reliability of the power system. Here I have mentioned few reference books which I have also used to understand first and second unit. I.J. Nagarath and D.P. Kothari sirs Modern Power System Analysis reference books published by Tata McGraw-Hill. For unit 3 you can refer to Hingorani reference book, that is Understanding Facts, published by IEEE Press. For unit 4, 5 and 6, Chakraborty sir's textbook, that is Power System Analysis, Operation and Control, published by Prentice Hall of India. So let's look on to the unit 1 contents. Majorly I have divided the unit 1 into 4 different parts. First we will study about the power system stability and states of power system stability operation. Next we will look on to dynamics of the synchronous machine, that is alternator at the generation side deployed for generating the electrical energy. Next, its significance of the swing equation and what do you mean by the power angle curve. Next, equal area criterion and its application. Here we will try to understand whenever there is a sudden change in the mechanical input, what happens to the network, the effect of critical clearing time and effect of critical clearing angle. And last one is methods to improve the steady state and transient stability. For this previously I have mentioned, I have referred to this textbook, Nagarath and Kothari sir's textbook, that is Modern Power System Analysis, published by Tata McGraw-Hill. So first we will look on to the introduction. We know that you have studied about the power system, that power system works in synchronism. Power system is subjected to wide range of disturbances. You can segregate these disturbances depending upon the system's response. Either they can be small disturbance or the large disturbance. For the small disturbance, load and generation changes which fluctuates, load fluctuations and generation fluctuations comes under the small, or we can segregate these two changes in the small types of disturbances. For the large disturbances, we consider the external faults such as the transmission line faults and the outages in the equipment. These all are the large disturbances. So when the disturbances occur, the stability of a power system disturbs. Now, what do you mean by stability? Now, a power system is said to be stable, said to be in a stable condition when it maintains the synchronism between its various elements even after being subjected to disturbance. So, whenever the disturbance occurs, the rotor angle oscillates and it reaches to a new operating point. So this defines the stability of a power system. If the power system remains in or achieves its stability even after the disturbance, then we say that that power system is in the stable condition. So classically we say that a system is in unstable condition or has instability when it loses out of when it loses its synchronism or it falls out of the synchronism with respect to the other machines connected to the same bus bar. Here bus bar, we know that we have studied earlier, bus bar means which has constant voltage, constant frequency and current tolerance limits. Here you will also see the types of power system stability. Now types of power system stability are mainly segregated depending upon their state, the modes of operation when the power system network is subjected to certain type of uh, disturbance, whether it is a small disturbance or large disturbance. These three modes of operation will occur, or these three states you will be able to see in any power system network. So it involves total study of the dynamics under the disturbance. So mainly you have the steady state stability, transient stability and dynamic stability. If we try to see the stability or the three operation states when the system is subjected to disturbance, first comes the transient stability, then the system reaches to steady state, and in the steady state if there is a periodic disturbance, that is its maximum fluctuating point and the minimum fluctuating point remains constant for a particular period of time, then we call it as a dynamic stability. So let's see here the graphical representation of transient and steady state of a power system network. Here I have taken example of rotor angle. Here whenever the power system network is subjected to disturbance, there is a change in the rotor angle. Initially the rotor angle starts rising and it reaches to the maximum point. Here the time taken to reach the maximum point is called as a peak point, and then after a certain natural oscillations it reaches to a steady state. It reaches to a steady state after 63.6% of the total time. Here the settling time is nothing but the time taken by a system to reach its stable state. Here you have here delta is nothing but the rotor angle. In few reference books, delta is rotor angle is denoted by delta, and in few reference book it is denoted by theta. You can take as per your convenience. Here 1 plus delta is the upper tolerance limit of the delta value, and 1 minus delta is the lower tolerance limit, and 1 is the actual stable operating point. But when it undergoes a certain disturbance, it attains a new operating point and find its stable point somewhere over here. So this is how your system behaves when it undergo a certain internal or external disturbances. So initially when the disturbance occur, the initial oscillations will lead to a transient response of a system, and later after a certain duration of time it reaches to a new operating point, and that is nothing but a steady state. Now during the steady state, when there is a periodic oscillations and they remain constant for a certain duration, that can be termed as a dynamic stability. So here we will look on to transient stability and dynamic stability, how we can define this transient stability and dynamic stability. A transient state of operation is set when there is a large disturbance occurrence over the system, but still the system is able to achieve its synchronism and find its new stable operating point. Then we can say that system is in the transient condition. Transient condition occurs when power system is subjected to a certain disturbances, such as the large faults occurring over the transmission line. These sudden disturbances affects the power system's security, and most common examples of this transient instability is the sudden three-phase short circuit fault, tripping of the generators, etc. So now we will look on to dynamic state of a system. When the system is said to be in a dynamic state, when there is a periodic and continuous oscillations occurring over the system, but those oscillations are within its maximum and minimum point. So such a stable state is also called as a dynamic state. This dynamism occurs when the system is frequently subjected to a load change and has no specific magnitude. It has a higher maximum point constant and it has a lower minimum point constant. So if the magnitude which are the oscillatory in nature and if not damped within the tolerable limits, then it would cause changes in the fundamental parameters also, and they starts oscillating for a certain period of time. So it is very important that system must be damped within minimum time as possible. So now that we have defined power system stability, transient stability and dynamic stability, now the question arises, what do we mean by limit, that is steady state limit. So steady state limit is nothing but the maximum amount of a power transfer can take place from sending end to the receiving end without disturbing its tolerance limit. So this is very important because the moment when the load is put on the machine, it lowers the speed, but the speed has to be synchronous for maintaining the stability. So it changes the power angle delta. So due to this what happens, the rotor pole fall back and keep the machine in synchronism by adjusting the values of voltage, frequency, governor input, etc. So we cannot supply infinite amount of a power in the transmission line. There are certain tolerance limit for it, so that we maintain the synchronism in the network. So this is how we define the steady state limit. Always understand that steady state stability limit is lesser than steady state limit. Now let's see the classification of power system stability. The power system stability can be of three types. We try to maintain the stable position of rotor angle, frequency and voltage. These stabilities are studied, and here the rotor angle stability is studied for small disturbance and large disturbance, and these both can be studied for a shorter duration of time, because after a shorter period of time rotor again regains its new operating stable point. Next is the frequency stability. Frequency stability is also studied for short term process and for the long term process. Next is the voltage stability. Voltage stability is studied for large disturbances, small disturbances, and also here both are studied for the short term purpose or for the longer term purpose also. So let's take one example of power system network. Here I have taken a power system network of 5 bus system and 3 generator case. Here generators are at the bus number 1, bus number 2 and bus number 3. Here buses are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Here, and the lines are line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, 5. So these lines are interconnecting all the generators and buses. So now what happens? Suppose a three-phase short circuit fault occurs over this system at the line number 2 near the bus number 1. So what happens? Under the short circuit condition, the current value or the current magnitude shoots up, and the voltage at that particular bus dips. So when the voltage dips, what happens? Your power transfer, we know that power transfer is directly proportional to the voltage from the formula EV by x into sine theta. Here theta denotes the rotor angle. So from this formula we know that power is directly proportional to voltage. So here when the three-phase short circuit occurs, your voltage dips and the power transfer capability from the generator 1 also decreases. So when it decreases, but at this point of time the mechanical input to this generator is not zero. So if it is not zero, then what happens? The electrical energy so transferred from this generator is zero, but mechanical input is same. So under this condition, what happens? The rotor angle accelerates because the rotating mass is still in synchronism, and it makes the excess amount of the mechanical energy, and this will accelerate the rotor angle. Now this line number 2 is removed for the maintenance purpose. When this short circuited, that is the faulty section of this line number 2 is removed from the other healthy section of this power system, now what happens? The voltage at the bus number 1 starts regaining its magnitude. As and when it starts regaining its magnitude, it also increases the power transfer capability of this generator. Slowly, the power transfer from the generator 1 to the other sections also increases. So, at this point of time, the rotor angle again regain its new operating point and works in a stable mode. So, this is how we can say that under the disturbance effect, the power system network, mainly the fundamental parameters are hampered. So here, whenever the disturbance occurred over a system, the main game changer is your rotor angle. When the disturbance occurs over a system, the main thing is the rotor angle changes. And when this rotor angle changes, it try to maintain or regulate the power transfer from that particular generator to other section. Regulate means it try to maintain the constant power transferring capability from that generator to the other stations. So in order to maintain this power transfer capability, it try to change the parameters of other fundamental variables. As I have already told you, fundamental variables like it try to change the voltage, frequency, impedance and reactive power. So due to this, what happens? The issues again arises, because if we try to hamper the tolerance limit of these fundamental parameters, the coordination and synchronism of this particular machine from the other healthy section of the system network loses. And once the synchronism or once this system falls out of synchronism, it might occur further cumulative breakdowns. So let's see this power angle curve and swing curve. So power angle curve or this swing curve is one and the same. Why I am saying it is one and the same? Because the power transfer capability of a power system network is directly proportional to the angle theta from the formula EV by x into sine theta. Here theta is rotor angle. Here theta or delta, it is one and the same. So this plot, this swing curve is all about plotting the variation of a delta with respect to time. So when the system undergoes a certain disturbance, how this delta varies with respect to time, this is nothing but a swing curve. So here what happens when sudden disturbance occurs over a power system, the rotor angle starts increasing. But suppose if we try to take out the faulty section of the line for maintenance from the healthy part at time t is equal to 0.2 seconds. At this point of time, the rotor angle swing is more than the input mechanical energy. Now what happens? At this point, input is less and rotor angle swing is more. So at this point, the rotor angle starts deaccelerating. But in this curve, we are observing that this rotor angle is swinging to a large extent. This is due to its rotatory mass due to its large rotatory mass, it has its own inertia. But after reaching to the maximum point, it swings back to a lower position and it oscillates in this manner, and finally it reaches to a new operating point. So this is nothing but a swing curve or a power angle curve. So we have reached at the end of this module number 1 lecture. In this module number 1, we will just quickly recap what we have learned today. We have first seen what is power system network, what are the three stages of a power system network, how the power system works in coordination, what is the significance of power system operation and control subject, what are the issues or main critical things which are dealt in this power system operation and control subject. Then we have seen unit number 1's content, in which we have mainly focused today about the power system stability, its types of stability and classifications of stability. We have also defined each one of them, that is power system steady state stability, transient stability, dynamic stability. We have also seen the graphical representation of transient stability and steady state stability. Then we have also taken an example of a power system network when it is subjected to a disturbance, that is 5 bus and 3 generator system. Then we have seen what do we mean by power angle curve and swing curve, how there is a variation of a rotor angle with respect to the time and how it regains its stability after a certain period of time. Now after completing this module, you will be able to answer these assignment questions. I have given you 3 assignment questions. First is differentiate between the steady state stability, transient stability and dynamic stability in brief with wave diagram. Second question is explain the concept of steady state stability limit. Here you need to mention what do we mean by steady state limit and what do we mean by steady state stability limit. Under this, which one is greater than the other one, and take one example when there is a sudden fluctuations in the load, what happens to this limit, whether it remains same or whether the power transfer capability remains same. Just explain in few words. Next is explain the power angle curve, swing curve along with the neat diagram. We have also covered this topic in this module 1, how the power angle or the swing curve can be plotted, that is rotor angle variations with respect to the time. Thank you students. If you feel like you have any doubts, please ask me in the comment section below. Thank you.